Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel and second broadcast for the day. And today I'm continuing my exploration of various top B schools, and lot of you had requested me to do something about SP JAIN, and specifically a lot of people have this question: should you apply for SP JAIN, given that the application form costs 1500 rupees only for one college? So it depends on what kind of situation you are in your career, what kind of profile you have, as well as how interested you are into getting into SP JAIN. So from my perspective, SP JAIN is one of the top, has always been one of the top 5-7 colleges. In fact, those of you who are looking at only going to IIM A, B, C, or Excel, or Jamnal Bajaj can add or XLRI. And the XLRI I already said. So if you're looking at A, B, C, Excel, SP JAIN, IIM Lucknow maybe, and SP JAIN and JB Jamnal Bajaj. In that list, when you're talking, I'll not go beyond this list. SP JAIN normally is a college you would put in the top 5, top 7 colleges, where you say, okay, this is an opportunity that gives me the platform to live my dreams, to go all the way to the top. And you can actually have a look at people who have passed out of SP JAIN over the last 25 years. And there's a very interesting story about SP JAIN which I'll come to. So people who have passed out of SP JAIN over the last 25 years, you'll see their career paths have been very similar, very parallel to what IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, Jamnal Bajaj, XLRI graduates have had. FMS Delhi, I forgot to mention, that's also one of the colleges. You'll say, okay, if I'm getting into this, I'm not having any qualms about going into a second level B school at all. And SP JAIN के साथ एक बहुत interesting कहानी है. There's a very interesting story. And yeah, good evening everybody in the live broadcast. So there's a very interesting story about SP JAIN, and that interesting story is that in the mid-90s, around the time when I was trying to get into a B school myself, SP JAIN before that used to be a Bombay University college, and because of the academic restrictions, being a university college, not able to teach what they wanted to teach their students, they took a very bold call, because institute which is dependent on Mumbai University exams. At that time, Pune University exam used to be separate, CT Maharashtra was not there, Mumbai University exam used to be separate, and an institute which is kind of dependent on the university admission process suddenly takes a bold call, and it was considered number 2 at that time in Mumbai and in Maharashtra actually. So behind Jamnal Bajaj, they took a bold call of actually breaking out of that mold, and saying that we'll build our own courses and we'll build our own brand. And I think it actually was a inflection point in the college's history. So if you're looking at a top B school, SP JAIN should definitely, in my view, it should definitely be this thing. Of course, you should evaluate your chances, etc., whether you have a chance of getting in or not. Typically, good profiles, good CAT score or good GMAT score. They're only taking CAT and GMAT this year. They're not looking at ZAT. Pehle ZAT bhi dekhte the wo log. So good CAT score or good GMAT score and a good profile and versatility in your background. That's something that they look at, which other B schools don't really talk about. So let's have a look. Unfortunately, unlike the IIMs, etc., they have not opened up ki kitna percent weight kis cheez pe denge, right? So just have a look at, let's have a look at the key factors. So first of all, application dates for SP JAIN open on 25th September. They've already opened, that means for the last 15 days. They've been open for the last 15 days, and they're closing on 26th November. So just make sure you got another month and a half to apply to SP JAIN. Make sure that before the CAT you fill the form, right? You cannot wait for CAT kaisa hua, uske baad form fill karenge, because they'll not reopen their application process. And they say application shortlisted on the basis of profiles. And they also expected to meet the qualifying scores in at least one of the entrance exams. So 2 things, profiles and qualifying scores. And one of the qualifying scores in one of the entrance, in at least one of the entrance exams. So either GMAT or CAT, right? Most of you will be writing CAT, but even if you're writing GMAT, you can apply to SP JAIN through GMAT also. And they look at 5 things: overall profile, academic background, work experience, entrance scores, and versatility and achievements. So broadly, bottom line, maybe one of them might be 30% or 40%. maybe entrance score might be 25-30%. I don't think they have a weightage like 50-60% on CAT or anything like that. Or they actually have two kinds of shortlisting. I think for score-based shortlisting, and they have a profile-based shortlisting. Profile-based shortlisting, of course, there's no weightage for scores, entrance scores. So maybe you can think about a 25% on each, or maybe plus minus 5% based on what they look at a little bit more. They don't disclose this. For score-based calls, they will obviously take the entrance score to maybe 30-40% weightage hoga entrance scores ka. But you also need to have a decent background in the other things, in the other aspects, the overall profile and the academic background and work experience if you have that. And you also have to have strong versatility and achievements on your profile. So it's not just academic background. If you have had sports, debate, whatever, you've done a lot of extracurriculars, either during school or college, you can actually apply to this thing. So 3 factors here: 10th, 12th and grad. And academic, when they talk about academic background, later on you'll see they also talk about the fact that they want consistency of academic performance. So that is, they expect consistency, or at least a growing graph. So even if you have not a great 10th or 12th, but you have a growing graph, you're not up and down. So the up and down is something they don't like. They want consistency of academic performance. The other factor is a lot of people have this concern about 22 admissions. Ki what if I don't finish my college exams, etc. before joining? So all these B schools, most B schools are taking know what's happening about COVID. College exams are getting delayed, etc. Some final semester students are getting delayed. They are finishing graduation a little bit later, and they don't want to give up on those students. So most of these colleges have made this adjustment that you have to complete your graduation requirements by 31st December 2022 for the 22-24 batch. So you should be able to submit your degree and your results by 31st December 2022. That is fair enough time that they give you. And the other factor is, if you want to apply to the PGDM course at SP JAIN, your work experience has to be between 0 to 5 years. 0 to chalega, lekin 5 se upar nahi ho sakta. You cannot have 61 months of work experience, then you're not eligible to apply. This is very different from what the IIMs have. IIMs allow you to apply it even at 6 years, 8 years experience. And most of the B schools allow you to apply after 5 years also. But SP JAIN does not allow you to apply with more than 5 years of experience. Your work experience has to be less than 5 years. So this is the second point that you need to know. And the other very different factor about SP JAIN is that when you are applying to SP JAIN, you have to select 2 specializations. So there are 4 specializations that they offer: finance, information management, marketing and operations, and supply chain. So you'll have to state 2 preferences, your first preference and your second preference, and they do consider your past backgrounds in the context of what you are applying to. So this is very different from any other B school, which first tells you कि आ जाओ तुम मेरे पास, तुम मेरे को ज्वाइन करना चाहते हो, कौन सा सब्जेक्ट पढ़ोगे हम बाद में डिसाइड करेंगे. यहाँ पे they take your preference beforehand, and then they'll interview you. They look at your suitability for that, not just for the MBA course, but also for that specialization that you applied for. So this is one other factor that you need to understand. And if you're applying for a specialization, you've done something versatile in that specialization, you work towards your own profile in that specialization, that is definitely a very strong plus in SP JAIN. Please remember, SP JAIN also takes you on profile, which means that you can get through SP JAIN even if you have a bad CAT. You can get a profile-based call, and those profile-based calls come before the results of the qualifying exams are announced. Then what are the qualifying exams? You have got CAT 21, and you should have, or GMAT, anywhere between January 2019 to 31st December 2021. So if you've already taken GMAT before, you don't need to take it again for this college. As far as you're meeting the 75 percentile criteria in verbal and quantitative, in CAT you need the 75 percentile criteria in all the 3 areas, all the 3 sections, and overall your percentile has to be 85 plus. So this is the minimum requirements. This does not guarantee that they'll take you, but if you don't have this, it's guaranteed that you're not taken. And as I was saying, there are 2 profiles. The applicants are shortlisted on the basis of profiles. and they are also able, they also need to meet the qualifying scores in at least one of the entrance exams. And the profiles are scored and the applicant are sorted in two groups: profile based first phase and profile cum score based. So there are two groups in which interviews are held. One is profile based calls. Normally that happens in December itself. early January में तुम्हारा profile based interviews हो जाएगा SP JAIN का, और February onwards once the results come out in January for CAT, उसके बाद February onwards, February March में you can expect the profile cum score based interviews to happen. और इसमें typically 97-98 percentile plus वाले लोग लेंगे. So MDI के साथ similar percentiles as MDI will take you at, SP JAIN will also take you at similar percentiles, but you also should have some versatility in your academic background, etc. So that's very important. So how do you introduce versatility? What do you mean by versatility? So they'll look at this: consistency of academic records for the interviews, relevance of work experience for the specialization chosen. So you're choosing a specialization of, let's say, finance, and you have been working in a BPO. So it will not be, the relevance will be low. The work experience relevance will be low, and you will not get any major points for your work experience in that case. But if you're working, let's say, in a bank and you're going into finance sector, you're working in a fintech company and you want to go into the finance sector, that works. Or you're working in a brokerage or whatever you're working in, and you want to go into the finance sector, it will work there for you. So that's the second point. And the third point is versatility and achievement. So this is one thing in which even those with poor academic backgrounds can actually come up. तो अगर तुमने पढ़ाई उतनी नहीं की है, स्पोर्ट खेला है, डिबेट्स में पार्ट लिए हैं, इवेंट्स में पार्ट लिए हैं, ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में पार्ट लिए हो, क्लब्स और एक्सेट्रा में पार्ट लिए हो, इंटर कॉलेज कॉम्पिटिशन में पार्ट लिए हो, जो भी एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर्स और को करिकुलर एक्टिविटी की हो, it's time to show those things there, because the more versatile you have been and the more achievements you have notched up in your school and college years, that will definitely help you add to your profile and add to the attractiveness of the SP JAIN application form that you have. Unfortunately, as I said, they have not put down कि कितना % किस चीज़ पे दे रहे हैं, so it's not a very clear process that way, but it's an slightly opaque in that sense. They are not opening up the numbers, so you really cannot calculate कि मेरे को 10th के कारण इतना weightage में से इतना points मिल जाएगा. Those calculations you can't do. But generally, if you feel that, I mean, who should apply? You got a poor academic or an average academic background, but you have got very versatile achievements in your extracurricular and co-curriculars, you should apply to SP JAIN. You can expect good calls because they do respect all those things. And one thing very important is, even if you get a profile-based call, only profile-based call, you still have to meet the minimum cutoff in the final interviews in the entrance exams to get that. And the second phase shortlist is as I said, this is the second phase shortlist. You might not be able to read this. The second phase shortlist happens after the entrance exam results are taken. Last year the interviews were all online, so they are saying that we reserve the right to have online interviews this year also. SP JAIN के interviews का एक और बहुत ही fundamental difference है with respect to other interviews. All the other interviews are personal interviews. यहाँ पे group interviews होता है. That means they get 4 of you to sit together and they ask open questions. They'll ask you some targeted questions and then they'll ask you some open questions. They don't have a GD at all. So they look at your initiative, etc. inside a group of 4 or 5 in their interviews, in their group interviews. So, and they'll also look at your thought process and how open you are to taking questions that are going in the middle somewhere, that's not particularly directed to you but directly generally to the group. How much of an initiative do you show, all those things. So वो सब देखना पड़ेगा. We'll have maybe a session on group interview tips and tricks, how to crack group interviews on the channel soon. But that's basically what SP JAIN is all about. And important point, current intake is 240 and there are 36 seats for PIO, people of Indian origin or overseas citizens of India. So that's separate. So Indian citizens, Indian students, get 240 seats. So good enough to apply for this. You can take a call and it should be one of, I mean, in my view, it should be one of your aspiration institutes to get in, because you go to IIM ABC, you go to SP JAIN, 10 years down the line, you will have the same careers. So just look at that. Don't confuse SPJIMR with SP JAIN Global Program. Uska selection processes, etc., much less tighter, and the value of the course is also much lower than the SP JAIN course. Everybody knows that, except some gullible first timers. So just be sure that you are not fooled by the SP JAIN Global program and thinking about SP JIMR. So if you're joining SP JAIN Global program, do it for the SP JAIN Global program, not because it's SP JIMR, because the two outcomes are going to be very different from those two B schools. So that's my personal view. I hope this was helpful to you, and please do comment about what other institutes you want to do. Some of you had asked for FMS. FMS का एक last year का video पड़ा हुआ है मेरा, वो देख लेना तुम लोग, उसका link मैं खोज के डाल दूँगा. But otherwise FMS has not released 22-24 criteria. जैसे ही आएगा तो I'll create a fresh video for it, right? And I'll be coming to the other IIMs now. ABCL तो हो गया. I think Kozhikode भी कर दिया था मैंने शायद. I don't remember. I'll just look at it. The whole playlist is there in the playlist in which this video is there. So if you just want to follow the other colleges, how they select, etc., just go into the playlist and just explore, and we'll be continuing to do. The target for us is to do maybe the top 25 to 50 institutes in details inside this playlist. Thank you so much. I'll take a leave now. Bye-bye.